President Tinubu's midterm performance divides opinions amid economic challenges. WAEC candidates escape death as classrooms collapse in Taraba. Herders cattle killed in fresh plateau attacks on Boko's Basa. And on the foreign scene, thousands raid aid warehouse as hunger spreads in Gaza. Hello and welcome to Trust News Hour. I am Idris Dayabaturi. Now, midday into his first term, President Bola Tinubu says his administration has recorded impressive performance across all sectors, including agriculture, security, health, and energy. In a statement released on Thursday to celebrate the 2-year mark of his 4-year tenure, the president assured Nigerians that his government was on course to building a greater, more economically stable nation. Kehinde Amodu reports.
The past 2 years have been very difficult for Nigerians, but President Bola Tinubu is upbeat about achievements of his administration so far. Though the president acknowledges the sacrifices many Nigerians have had to make and have continued to make, he's assuring that the real impact of governance objectives is beginning to take hold. According to him, despite the bump in the cost of living, inflation has begun to ease, with rice prices and other staples declining. This is because Ways and Means financing, which has been a major contributor to high and sticky inflation, has been discontinued. The president also maintains that the oil and gas sector is recovering with rig counts by over 400% in 2025 compared to 2021. Also, over $8 billion in new investments have been committed, while the economy is now better positioned for growth and prepared to withstand global shocks. Speaking on fiscal deficit, Tinubu says improved revenue generation and greater transparency in government finances has narrowed deficit sharply from 5.4% of GDP in 2023 to 3.0% in 2024. Government has also recorded over 6 trillion naira in revenue in the first quarter of this year, partly because the NNPC has now become a net contributor to the Federation account, since it is no longer burdened by unsustainable fuel subsidies. Speaking on security, Tinubu said there is now improved collaboration among security agencies, increased intelligence-driven operations, and better ensured welfare of the armed forces and security personnel. He points out that the armed forces has restored order in some areas of the northwest, hitherto under the control of bandits, while threats to lives and livelihoods have been eliminated. Security agencies have continuously succeeded in rescuing abducted citizens from the hands of their tormentors, which the president says had encouraged farmers back to their lands. Speaking of farming, Tinubu said aggressive initiatives to boost local food production, support farmers, and stabilize food prices had been launched. These include investment in mechanized farming by procuring thousands of tractors, other farming tools, and fertilizers. The president also revealed major road projects across all geographical zones. The president's scorecard on his midterm anniversary reveals an attempt to convince Nigerians that there are better days ahead. However, the benefits of his reforms and policies seem not to be trickling down to the ordinary citizen. Kehinde Amodu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Now, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's first 2 years in office have been marked by a flurry of reforms, many of which have sparked intense national debate, especially over their economic implications in everyday Nigerians. As the administration marks its second anniversary, analysts, civil society, actors, and citizens are taking stock of the president's policy direction, examining what has changed, what hasn't, and at what cost. Trust TV's Ibrahim Ismail reports.
Since assuming office, the APC-led administration under President Tinubu has rolled out sweeping reforms across multiple sectors, with the bulk of these efforts focused on the economy. Among the headline initiatives, fuel subsidy removal, the crude for Naira deal, the controversial tax reforms bill, the Electricity Act amendment of 2024, ongoing talks around a new minimum wage and attempts to enforce financial autonomy for local governments.
We had a disagreement or quarrel and everything when it was local government's autonomy. No.
But not all have landed well with Nigerians. The removal of fuel subsidy and the electricity tariff hike, though held by the government as necessary for economic recovery, have triggered widespread hardship, prompting public pushback and renewed calls for policy review.
So it has been counterproductive. It is hurting the economy. And as a leader, when the policy you are implementing, when it's hurting your people and your nation and your administration, you reverse them.
But I think effort should have been made to first galvanize the refineries, make them to work, and of course also allow Dangote to come on stream.
In 2024, the presidency announced that savings from the fuel subsidy removal reached $7.5 billion, translating to over 11 trillion naira annually. But critics continue to ask, where is the money and how is it being spent?
The savings from the fuel subsidy goes to federation account. It means that since June 2023, the money that goes to federation account has increased. So what that means is federal government, state government, and local government, they now have more resources. Now, state government, before now, most of them were owing salaries of their workers and pensioners.
Beyond subsidy, the Tinubu administration also championed financial reforms aimed at strengthening local governance, notably the enforcement of local government financial autonomy. The Supreme Court's landmark ruling in July 2024 affirmed the autonomy of LGs, but many states have yet to comply, choking the functionality of grassroots institutions.
They've actually consider local government allocations as their own. They don't even give it to the local government. They don't even allow local government access to it. When the money arrives, they just call the local government chairman, whom they eventually appoint anyway, and say, look, hey, okay, I'm doing this, I'll give you this for payment of salaries and the rest.
While critics accuse the federal government of slow or selective implementation, the presidency insists many of the projects are still in motion and will yield long-term gains.
President Tinubu will continue to work to improve the quality of life of Nigerians. Continue to work every day to improve our infrastructure, to improve on security, to improve on healthcare service delivery.
As Nigeria inches closer to another election cycle, observers say the Tinubu administration must reassess the fallout of the reforms, addressing public pain points and restoring confidence in governance.
So the first subsidy was cushioning a lot of things for the poor people. First subsidy is, in fact, is almost, because there's no light, there's no electricity in the country. So first subsidy is the only live wire that the citizens were enjoying. So you take it away and you are subsidizing politicians, governors, senators, House of Rep members. It's better to, when you subsidize the citizens, you boost businesses.
It needs to double down on issues around insecurity, economic development, particularly, ensuring that there is more job opportunities and more people are lifted out of poverty. Because without all of that, there will be no improvement in the standard of living of Nigerians.
But beyond rhetoric, the Tinubu administration has a lot of work to do to deliver on its campaign promises ahead of the next election cycle, when Nigerians will decide for tenure extension or otherwise. Ibrahim Ismail, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Now, as President Bola Ahmed Tinubu marks 2 years in office, all eyes are on his cabinet, the ministers tasked with steering Nigeria through turbulent times, from the economy to education. Here's a spotlight on 6 key players and how Nigerians are rating their performance. Take a look.
As President Bola Ahmed Tinubu marks 2 years in office, all eyes are on his cabinet, the ministers tasked with steering Nigeria through turbulent times. From the economy to education, has a spotlight on 6 key players and how Nigerians are rating their performance.
Wale Edun, Minister of Finance and Economy. Tasked with stabilizing an economy battered by inflation and subsidy removal fallout, Wale Edun has faced one of the toughest jobs in the cabinet. While the administration claims revenue has improved, critics argue the reforms have worsened poverty and triggered a cost of living crisis. The scorecard missed. He talks big on reforms, but the masses are still waiting to feel the impact.
In trying to assess the performance of a particular minister, one thing we must not forget is the fact that the minister is not as autonomous as Nigerians would expect. The same way you expect that a councillor from your local government should be able to perform magic beyond his own horizon. The Minister of Finance and the coordinating Minister of the Economy is a representative and ambassador of the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He does the biddings of his principal.
Mohammed Badaro, Minister of Defense. From resurgent Boko Haram attacks in Borno to banditry in the northwest, many believe Nigeria's security situation hasn't improved. Mohammed Badaro, a former governor, now leads defense. While military offensives continue, critics say coordination is weak and gains remain unsustained. Public confidence low, with mounting pressure on him to revamp strategy.
The security is very bad now. Everybody cry. People don't want to go farm again. No food, no money, no work, no empowerment. All of them promise and fail. Empowerment, they don't pay. Salary, no payment. They think what you say to me, go they know them. You go to employ old man for office, no you to there. So you to the first video by there now. Thief everywhere.
Dele Alake, Minister of Solid Minerals. Once a loud voice in the media, Dele Alake has struggled to translate his communication brilliance into solid mineral success. The promise of diversifying Nigeria's economy beyond the oil remains largely on paper. Illegal mining persists, and the sector remains underperforming. For a renewed Hope administration, hope is running low here.
To me, I don't feel any impact. But the only person I know, because I'm in Abuja, that is working is Wike. He's the only one that I know. I'm seeing it with my practical eyes. Anywhere I go, I see Wike. Even though I'm not seeing him physically. Anywhere I go within Abuja, I see Wike. And that is all. That's all I have to say here. Wike is the only one who is working. Forget about his shortcomings and etc. But Wike is working.
Yusuf Tugar, Minister of Foreign Affairs. In a time when regional diplomacy is critical, from ECOWAS challenges in Niger to global trade talks, Tugar has maintained a low profile. Critics say Nigeria's once dominant diplomatic voice in West Africa is fading. Public diplomacy, especially on key global issues, have been underwhelming. The verdict, under the radar and under-delivering.
I don't think most of them have done well. As far as I'm concerned, almost 90% of them have done terribly. So, except for a few of them like Wike, which you can see the results here. Generally, most of them, they are just, there's nothing to write them about.
Dr. Morofat Alausa, Minister of Education. With over 10 million out-of-school children, a sector plagued by underfunding and mass failures, Dr. Alausa has his hands full. Yet critics say policy direction has been vague and interventions insufficient. The crisis in public universities, poor exam results, and an education sector under stress remain unaddressed.
Under the Minister of Education, meanwhile, they need to do more so that the students should know very well and understand the reality and go into practical education and not only verbal or just doing it like that. And when they are being sent to go and do certain things, they can practicalize it.
Boso Tijani, Minister of Communications and Digital Economy. One of the youngest in the cabinet, Tijani came in with energy and vision. From broadband expansion to pushing tech startups, he's received praise from Nigeria's digital space. But critics say execution is slow and regulatory bottlenecks persist. Among youth and the tech community, however, he remains one of the more promising ministers.
I think they are trying so far with their own power. And with God, we are moving on.
2 years in, the Tinubu cabinet has shown flashes of potential, but many Nigerians still ask, where is the delivery? With 2027 drawing closer, the clock is ticking for these ministers to either rise or be reshuffled.
Now, the Senate President Godswill Akpabio has announced that a joint session of the National Assembly will be held on June 12 to mark Democracy Day. This is coming on the heels of the Senate adjournment of sitting of June 17 to mark both Democracy Day and Eid al-Kabir. Akpabio made the announcement following the reconvening of the upper chamber for plenary on Wednesday. The Senate President further revealed that the Senate leader, Opeyemi Bamidele, the Senate Minority Leader, Abomoro, and the Chairman of Senate Services, Sunday Karimi, will collaborate with their counterpart in the House of Representatives to finalize the program of activities and coordinate arrangement for the special session. Additionally, the Senate President disclosed that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has agreed to attend the joint session in person. He emphasized that the Senate has authorized the committee to fast-track planning and finalize the modalities for the event agenda in the coming days.
There will be a joint session of both the House of Representatives and the Senate on June 12 to celebrate Democracy Day 2025. Mr. President has graciously agreed to be in attendance. So I hope all members will make out time to come for that special session to celebrate democracy in Nigeria. In the absence of any further announcement, the three-man committee of the Senate will join with the three-man committee of the House of Representatives to plan for the June 12 celebration. And then this Senate wants to wish all our Muslim brothers Bargaru Salah in future.
Now, a wave of public outrage has trailed the West African Examinations Council, WAEC, following reports that some of its papers were administered late into the night in part of Nigeria on Wednesday, May 28. Abubakar Abdullahi Galadima reports.
From Ibadan North in Oyo State to Abeokuta South in Ogun and Oshobo in Oshun, students sat for examination as late as 9 p.m., with some centers reportedly wrapping up close to midnight. The decision sparked confusion, criticism, and a flurry of accusations, particularly from parents and education stakeholders who says the council acted recklessly. Many condemned WAEC for what they describe as gross mismanagement and a disregard for student welfare. In some areas, students were forced to trek home in the dark, raising concern about safety in communities with poor electricity and security infrastructure. On social media, hashtag calling for accountability gained traction, with users accusing WAEC of operational failure and systemic incompetence. In a swift response, WAEC apologized for the disruption, saying the late-night session were part of a broader strategy to curb examination malpractice. The council claimed the scheduling was meant to stagger exams and reduce the risks of question paper leaks. The council cited the arrests in Umuahia, Maiduguri and Oshobo as evidence of ongoing sabotage and the need for extraordinary measures to protect the integrity of its exams. But that explanation has done little to quell criticism. Teachers' unions, education advocates, and civil society groups are demanding a complete review of WAEC's scheduling method, with some calling for Ministry of Education to intervene. While WAEC insists its reform are necessary to restore trust in public examinations, the backlash underscores the urgent need for a balance between security and student safety. Abubakar Abdullahi Galadima, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Now, the West African Examinations Council has blamed the delay in the conduct of the 2025 English language paper on Wednesday on heightened efforts to curb examination malpractice, particularly the leakage of question papers. In a statement issued on Thursday, WAEC acknowledged the disruption experienced by candidates during the English language paper 2, which was scheduled for May 28 but held several hours behind schedule in many centers nationwide. WAEC's acting head of public affairs, Moyoshala Adeshina, said the examination body's commitment to protecting the integrity of examination contributed significantly to the delay. The examination body also pointed to other compounding factors, such as logistical challenges, security concerns, and sociocultural dynamics which disrupted operations in some areas. To prevent a reoccurrence, WAEC said it is working with security agencies to streamline the process and improve operational efficiency in subsequent exams. WAEC apologized to students, schools, and parents for the inconvenience caused by the disruption and thanked all stakeholders for their understanding during what it described as a challenging period. Now, 4 herders and 9 cattle were on Tuesday reportedly killed, while many houses were burnt in 2 communities in Bokos and Bassa local government area of Plateau State. 5 persons, including women, and who were also injured in the attack, are receiving treatment at Ndong Hospital in Bokos. Trust TV's Adu Musa completes the report.
The incident occurred hours after an attack on Tuesday night in which 7 family members were killed in Kopmur community of Mushere district in Bokos local government area. Trust TV report that a clergyman, Reverend Mikan Yeljic, was shot dead by suspected kidnappers on Monday, and 2 women, including the deceased wife, were also wounded in Kwakas. The killing was followed by the alleged burning of a Fulani settlement in the area. Saidu Umar, whose son was among those who lost their lives in the incident, called on the government to ensure justice for the victims.
Kowa ya kwantar da hankalinsa. Muna ba da biyayya ga gwamnati.
I call on security agencies to bring the perpetrators to justice. I am also calling on everyone in the family to remain calm. We are trusting that security agencies and government will do the needful. Nobody should take laws into their hands. Soldiers and I went in search of the corpse yesterday. At first, we discovered the 9 cattle that were killed. And after we moved a little further, we discovered the corpse of Jamilu, buried in a shallow grave close to a river bank. We then took it back home for burial.
Amma yana ce dukkan jama'a ayi hakuri da abin da ya faru. Kada wani ya dauki doka a hannu. Kada wani ya je yayi gaban kansa, yayi hakuri shi a bar mashi aiki.
We have indeed lost a son, but there is nothing we can do. Allah has decreed that he will pass at a given time. We call on everyone to surrender and entrust everything to Allah. We urge patience and cooperation with security agencies as they do their job. We appreciate the security agencies for assisting in recovering the body. GOC has warned us not to take laws into our hands.
Da haka muke rokan al'umma don Allah ayi hakuri a bar ma jami'an tsaro su yi abin da ya dace.
For years, there has been accusations and counter-accusations of attacks and killings between farming and herding communities across some local government areas of the state, with many hoping for a sustained solution to the crisis. Ado Musa, Trust TV News, Jos.
Now, an unspecified number of people have lost their lives in a flood that swept through Moko town, the headquarters of Moko local government area in Niger State. Residents reported that the road linking the northern and southern part of Nigeria through Mokwa has also been cut off by the flood. Although details remain sketchy, some residents estimated that as many as 50 people may have died. Several houses and properties worth millions of naira were submerged. Others said the death toll could exceed 50, as many residents, including women and children, are still missing. It was gathered that the flood was triggered by a torrential downpour that lasted for several hours on Wednesday night, submerging homes and sweeping away residents in their sleep. The Director of Information and Special Duties at the Niger State Emergency Management Agency in Sema, Ibrahim Audu Husseini, confirmed the incident. Now, a tragic scene unfolded in Abia State on Wednesday afternoon as a massive advertising billboard collapsed on several tricycles carrying passengers, leaving many feared dead. The incident occurred at the Salad Market Junction near the GIA Event Center during a downpour accompanied by violent winds. Eyewitnesses say the structure came crashing down without warning, pinning down the tricycle beneath its weight. While the exact number of casualties remain unconfirmed as of press time, emergency responders and local engineers joined effort to rescue survivors. Several injured passengers were promptly taken to nearby hospitals for urgent medical care, while bodies of the deceased were reportedly transported to the morgue.
See, this is an accident. This iron something that was mounted at right choice. Just
and there's this. Since President Bola Ahmed Tinubu took office on May 29, 2023, the spotlight has largely remained on economic reforms at the federal level. But those same reforms, particularly the removal of fuel subsidies and exchange rate unification, were also intended to boost financial capacity at the state level, giving governors more room to deliver on promises. The big question remains, are citizens actually seeing the benefits? In this special report, Abdulaziz Ibrahim takes a look at how Kano State residents are rating their government 2 years into current administration.
When President Bola Ahmed Tinubu removed fuel subsidies, the goal was to stabilize the economy and make more funds available, especially to subnational governments. In Kano State, under Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf, education has been a major focus. One major step was the declaration of a state of emergency in education sector, with over 30% of the state's budget allocated to it. Dr. Awal Halilu, a policy analyst and co-chair CSOs of the Kano State Accountability Forum on Education, discusses the policy's implementation.
If we are going to score the government based on that, one, after the state of emergency, we saw distribution of the learning material at the state level, which each LGA were given for them to distribute to other sectors. Two, there were recruitment. We have the BESDA cohort 3 and we have the BESDA cohort 4, which apart from the 5,000 of recent, we have 4,000, which we also call for more. Then thirdly, the governor tried to distribute school uniforms, but to primary 1, which some of us, the CSOs, we reach out to majority of these schools to see. Then there's issue of these policies. Now, the policies as a scorecard, they have been approved, signed by the governor. What is remaining that we cannot say is implementation. With the for now, we'll say good and excellent for signing the policies. Then maybe by that year, we'll say, okay, what is the level of implementation of these policies? But so far, so good, despite all this improvement, despite all the effort of the governor, which we appreciate and call for more, you see that in our rural areas, there is still more to do as far as education is concerned.
For some pensioners, the last 2 years have brought long-awaited relief. 65-year-old Muhammad Musa is now a proud vehicle owner, purchased with his gratuity, which had been delayed for years until the current government settled it.
31 months, previous government is deducting our money. It depends upon how much you earn. Even somebody that has 4,000 as his monthly pension, something out of that 4,000 was deducted during the the previous regime. The first month that he sworn in, nobody take even a kobo from our monthly pension. And he promised to start payment of gratuity. And he did. In 20 months, Abba gave 16 billion naira to the pension board to pay those who are waiting for their gratuity. What I want this government to do again, the money that was deducted from pensioners for the first years should be paid, if so wish, to the owners, so that Abba will be completely in our Messiah. Now I give him 98% as his mark. But after he do these two things, 2 marks will be added to make it 100. Understand?
From better pensions and improved schools to increased support for civil servants, Kano State has made some strides. But in the midst of rising living costs, many Nigerians continue to evaluate leadership not just by policy intentions, but by real-world impact. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has implemented some policies that favor us in the north, but some policies have also taken us backward. For instance, commerce in Kano has declined over the past 2 years. From 600 naira to 1,600 naira, showing a 1,000 naira increase. Foam that used to cost 5,000 naira is now sold for 13,000 naira. The next 2 years will be critical in determining whether rising revenues will truly translate into meaningful change for ordinary citizens. Abdulaziz Ibrahim, Trust TV News, Kano.
As President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration clocks 2 years, opinions remain divided over his performance, particularly on how his economic reforms have affected everyday Nigerians. In Osun State, while some residents acknowledge the intent behind key federal policies, others argue that the state government has not done enough with increased federal allocations to cushion the impact. Hamid Oyegbadi, report from Oshobu.
Major policies of President Bola Tinubu in the last 2 years were perceived to have subjected Nigerians to hardship. Majority of people believe that the removal of fuel subsidy by the president led to the high cost of living in the country. But others said Tinubu's economic reforms have been aimed at making more resources available to the state governments. In Osun State, there are criticisms that not enough has been done to justify the increased revenue to the state from federal government.
What we are experiencing today is a complete negation of what democratic, dividends should be. You understand? As it is today, there is high cost of living at every sectors of, the Nigerian society.
The most important thing about driving a nation is the economy. And if you see the way it's going, that school of thought is the best school of thought in the world. We are gradually coming out of a developing country to a developed country through right policies and decisions on propelling the economy of this nation.
For us on the street, we understand that the government may be doing much. As a matter of fact, the federal government is giving the state more money. But that more money is not translated to prosperity for the people. And there is need for a policy review of every activities of the past 2 years to align with the yearning and aspiration of the people. We are not asking for too much.
We always ask questions about what the government have been doing in Osun. Because when you look at the resources that has accrued to the state, you will discover that there is nothing to show for it by the state government. For example, now, between 2022 and 2023, when the last administration left, the government got 13 billion naira. And in 2023, between 2023 and 2024, the state government also got another 83 billion naira.
Meanwhile, the Osun State government says the fund received by the administration of Governor Ademola Adeleke as federal allocation are being spent judiciously.
Welfare of workers, salary payment, allowances, empowerment, and so on and so forth is justified. When you look at infrastructure, we are justified. We are doing a lot in infrastructure. We are doing a lot in agriculture. In education, we have just been ranked 7th by NECO. When you take all these things together, you will discover that this administration has performed creditably well without borrowing a kobo. However, when you compare it to the federal government, we are still hoping that the federal government will come into us to come and do something. The share of Osun in the federal government allocation, as we have not seen it at all.
The resident expressed hope that things would improve in the country as Tinubu's administration enters its second half. Amid Oyegbade, Trust TV News, Oshogbo.
Now, as President Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration marks its second year in office, residents of the nation's capital, Abuja, and some experts have been speaking on the state of security in the past 2 years and what it portends for the future. While many see an improvement in effort to secure lives and property in the territory, others say more needs to be done to make the city safer for all. Neil Sampson has the rest of the story.
The Federal Capital Territory, FCT, Nigeria's administrative and political hub, stands predominantly in the country's center, with its skyline framed by the iconic Aso Rock. This monumental outcrop outlooks the presidential complex in the three-arm zone, home to the National Assembly and the Supreme Court. Since its development in the 1980s, Abuja has not only served as a seat of government but also as a symbol of national unity and stability. Ensuring security in such a vital city involves a dynamic synergy between the FCT administration and various federal security agencies. Drawing from national expertise and resources, these stakeholders work collaboratively to uphold law and order. The role of the residents in assessing and influencing local security cannot be overstated, as their experiences provide invaluable insight into the on-ground realities, revealing vulnerabilities and informing tailored security responses. With this in mind, we took to the streets of Abuja to hear firsthand how residents perceive the city's security situation over the last 2 years.
There are a lot of areas that still need to work on. Like in FCT right now, there are some areas that you can't drive your car. If the car stops, if you are in the car there, the hoodlums will come, attack you. Even along this road.
Can you just call the name of this place?
Yes, this is Gudu exit to Gaines Village. Anything from 7 p.m. Even you are in keke, there are some guys that will come on the bike, attack that keke, collect your phones, or you're walking on the road, they will just come, block you. So a lot of, especially this axis.
Security improvement in FCT is supposed to be everywhere in FCT because kidnappers, armed robbery, they have invaded FCT. Last time at this estate, FRB estate, there is an armed robbery incident there, and almost the whole of Abuja. When I'm living at Sunshine Estate, they killed one general last year there, and nothing has been done. Many drivers, especially the taxi drivers, some of them don't even have a plate number. So there has to be checkmaking those things. They have to checkmate those ones that is not with plate number. At least, I don't know the work of those ones that is the VIO, those ones, they're supposed to be checking those ones without plate number. Sometimes if you go to that Mabuch side, you see some taxi drivers without a plate number. And such people, they will end up, if you enter the motor, they will come in form of their personal, maybe their private driver. If they carry you at the end of the day, they will end up robbing you and push you out of the motor.
Most of all these transformers, drainage, they remove the covers. Every blessed day, you see that the line that they fix today, tomorrow you just see that they have been trying to break it down. So I don't know why government has not, and I know it's a big money that they used to install these things.
We also spoke with Dr. Stephen Okori, a seasoned security expert who offered professional and recommendations on how to address the ongoing security challenges.
Lack of credible intelligence, because for me, I've seen that there have been some intelligence failure, right? The security agencies that are saddled with intelligence gathering, how well are they equipped? How well are they even provided this information for them to? First of all, we have to agree that intelligence is first of all an information. that has gone through a process, analyzed, and all that, then finally becomes intelligence. So at that point,
as Abuja contends with a rise in security concerns, the need for urgent and strategic and community-driven solutions becomes even more critical. Stakeholders say restoring confidence, protecting lives and property, and reestablishing the once peaceful atmosphere of Nigeria's capital demands a united approach. Wow, Samson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
With Nigeria's 1999 constitution under increasing scrutiny, the House of Representatives is rolling out a nationwide roadmap to engage citizens amid stakeholders and the proposed constitutional amendment. At a meeting of the House Committee on Constitutional Review, the chairman and deputy speaker, Benjamin Kalu, announced a series of consultations aimed at building national consensus. The reports.
According to the deputy speaker, the committee will engage governors, state assembly speakers, civil society groups, political parties, media executives, and the diplomatic corps, beginning with a session with the Nigerian Governors Forum on July 23rd. Public hearings across all zones are scheduled for July, and by October 30th, harmonized bills will be transmitted to state houses of assembly for adoption. Priority issues include gender inclusion, state policing, and national security.
The engagement will bring expertise and alternative perspectives to the constitution review process, helping to shape our legislative decisions by highlighting deficiencies and proposing further debates. We want to hear the CSOs tell us what they feel about some of the issues we are working on, their criticisms and their proposal for a way forward. So we don't want the CSOs to be outside the room when we amend our constitution. So there's a space for them.
In a related development, the Deputy Speaker Benjamin Kalu also received Lord Collins of Highbury, the UK's Parliamentary Under Secretary of State for Africa, in Abuja. With bilateral trade hitting £7.2 billion and Nigeria's economy growing by 3.4% in 2024, both leaders reaffirmed their commitment to strengthening the democratic institutions and regional stability.
Today is absolutely focused on how we build that partnership for economic growth, a partnership based on respect and equality. We want to create the conditions for that growth, creating a win-win situation. Our two countries have an important relationship, but it is, under the new government, absolutely focused on economic growth, increasing the welfare of our peoples together.
Reaffirming his support for the Special Seats Bill, Kalu said boosting female representation in Nigeria's parliament is key to achieving inclusive development. He also raised concerns about the UK's recent immigration reforms, calling for fairer treatment of Nigerian nationals and greater support for female inclusion in governance.
Today's dialogue provides an opportunity to advocate for the following. Number one, an immigration policy framework that acknowledges the contributions of Nigerian nationals in the UK. Two, mutual recognition of qualifications to facilitate the movement of skilled professionals. Three, expanded educational pathway for Nigerian students within UK institutions.
As Nigeria undertakes a crucial review of its constitution and strengthens global alliances, lawmakers say the time for inclusive reform and strategic diplomacy is now.
Now, residents of Congo, Russia, Tudunfera, Nasarawa, Douala, and other communities in Jos North Local Government area of Plateau State have staged a protest against the sale and use of hard drugs in their neighborhoods. The protesters, comprising men, women, and children, expressed deep concern over the growing menace of drug abuse, which they say is having a devastating impact, particularly on the youth. Trust TV's Adu Musa reports.
The residents came out in large numbers, chanting slogans and displaying placards to voice their frustration over the unchecked sale and use of illicit drugs in the communities. They decried the activities of what they describe as bad elements, who, according to them, intend to destroy the fabric of their society through the sale of narcotics. The protesters said The presence of hard drugs is fueling various forms of criminality, including armed robbery and the notorious Sarasuka street gang violence. They call on security agencies to take decisive action to rid their communities of drug-related activities. We have come out in large numbers to warn those engaging in these illicit activities. We are not happy with the situation. Our children move around freely, and if this continues, they could fall victim. This protest is our way of raising our voices against this threat. Women in the area also raised the alarm, stressing that the presence of drugs is a serious threat to the upbringing and well-being of their children.
It is unfortunate that young children are becoming criminals daily in these areas. We are calling on relevant authorities to closely monitor and stop suppliers of these drugs. If the supply is cut off, our community will be safer.
My
biggest concern is that all stakeholders, especially the security agencies, must work together to halt the supply and sale of these hard drugs. We are facing a serious challenge. We urge the security agencies not only to arrest the culprits, but to rehabilitate them. They should be offered vocational training or employment opportunities so they can reintegrate into society positively.
The community members issue what they call a final warning to those involved in drug-related activities, vowing that if no action is taken, there will be consequences. They urge the authorities to act swiftly to prevent the situation from escalating beyond control. Ado Musa, Trust TV News, Jos.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who was praised as a renewer of hope when he took office 2 years ago, is solely being held responsible by Nigerians for the worst cost of living crisis in about 30 years, with deepened poverty and frustration over government inaction leading to public outrage and protest. The country is once again at inflection point. While government officials have praised government's role in laying foundations for growth, many analysts said Nigeria needs a stark policy turnaround to reverse its current economic woes. Yusuf Akogu tells us more.
When millions of Nigerians tuned in to witness President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's inauguration exactly 2 years ago, they anticipated a speech that would encapsulate the renewed hope he had promised during his campaign. But the president, in a single sentence, announced the sudden removal of fuel consumption subsidy without adequate compensatory measures. This singular decision and other economic decisions that followed have contributed to Nigeria's worst cost of living crisis in about 30 years, pushing millions of people deeper into poverty.
It's affecting all of us. When you go to the market, me na street I be, so I will give the experience like one from the street. I will not say because of this thing, but life is not easy. Everybody is complaining.
This government of a thing, when they come, these 2 years, then I don't see anything where they do. Highest now the poverty just they increase every day. The government really poor. Well, they no get if they say make I rate Nigerian government inside 5 star, now half star go give them. You go there inside market, morning till night, no work, no business, nothing they move. Nigeria with the hungry. We are hungry. I never see 1 naira no dey in my pocket. See am since morning. Nothing there with me. I never even see food chop.
Analyst says the president, whom they admitted inherited an ailing economy, took the decision without taking time to study his handover notes.
I don't think the masses have fared well. I will commend the president for taking tough decisions, like removing the fuel subsidy, floating the naira. Those are tough, necessary decisions.
The government, in a bid to alleviate the sufferings of the people, has rolled out plans, including cash transfer program, to cushion the impact of the twin policies. But these measures have failed to meaningfully address the current economic hardship.
No matter what the administration has done to ameliorate the suffering of the people, it hasn't worked because these two policies were not properly and carefully implemented. All the accessories that were supposed to go with it to make it work were not done, are not yet being done, and I don't know when it will be done.
But the president loyalists say 2 years into Tinubu's administration, Nigeria is undergoing a bold recalibration.
a very difficult one, but there's a need for us to be more focused and be more optimistic that eventually after 4 years, we still have 2 years to go, that eventually after 4 years at least the reforms will fully gain traction, and Nigerians will begin to see the positive impact of these reforms and policies. But however, it has been a very difficult 2 years. We cannot lie about that.
My message to Nigerians is to be patient. We believe the president and this new government is serious because they started with a bang, and I believe they're going to do a good job. So let's give them time.
Going forward, government is urged to design right-driven and people-centered policies, ensuring that human rights guide the formulation and implementation of significant policy changes. Yusuf Akogu, Trust Television News, Abuja.
Now, the old star of Mauritania has been elected the 9th president of the African Development Bank, AFDB, succeeding Nigeria's Akinwumi Adesina. His election was confirmed during the bank's annual meetings in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire, following rounds of voting by the Board of Governors. Ta, who takes office on September 1, 2025, defeated 4 contenders from Senegal, Zambia, Chad, and South Africa, a former Minister of Economic Affairs and ex-Director Infrastructure, integrated informal sector and scale-up climate financing. His leadership comes at a time when the continent faces growing debt pressures amid climate challenges. Now, thousands of desperate Palestinians stormed the United Nations warehouse in central Gaza on Wednesday, with the World Food Programme reporting 2 possible deaths in the tumult as Israel and the UN traded blame over deepening hunger crisis. The humanitarian situation in Gaza, where aid has finally begun to trickle in after a 2-month blockade, is dire following 18 months of devastating war. Food security experts say starvation is looming for 1 in 5 people. Footage showed crowds of Palestinians breaking into a WFP warehouse in Dar al-Bala and taking bags of emergency food supplies as gunshots rang out. Israel accused the United Nations Wednesday of seeking to block Gaza aid distribution, as the global body said it was doing its utmost to facilitate distribution of the limited assistance granted by Israel's authorities. Which And now it's time for Sport Update with Joseph Peter.
The 22nd National Sport Festival, tagged Gateway Games Ogun 2024, saw its climax with defending champion Team Delta retaining the Sport Festival trophy, claiming an unprecedented 9th crown. The contingent, led by chairman of the Delta State Sport Commission, Onoriode Oberowori, won 105 gold, 70 silver, and 85 bronze, making it a total of 260 medals, maintaining its dominance in the nation's biennial sport fiesta since winning it for the first time in Bauchi 2000, as well as making a 9th win in the last 11 editions. Team Delta extended its lead beyond the reach of second-place Team Bayelsa, who collected 72 gold, 51 silver, and 85 bronze, making it a total of 208 medals, with host Team Ogun in 3rd place after claiming 62 gold, 52 silver, and 57 bronze, totaling 171 medals. Standing 4th on the log is 2011 host and winners Team Rivers, picking 56 gold, 43 silver, and 48 bronze, making it 147 medals, with Team Edo, which won the 2002 edition, garnering 50 gold, 84 silver, and 83 bronze, having 217 medals. The National Sport Festival, held at the MKO Abiola International Stadium, Abeokuta, was colorful and competitive, with various take-homes such as the experience of competing against NSC's initiative known as the invited junior athletes Ija contingent. Cold City Games Enugu 2026 will be better than the just concluded 22nd edition. Ike Ekwere Madu said that the Gateway Games in Abeokuta has raised the bar, and the next host, which is Enugu, will take it a level higher in a bid to making it the best ever games in the annals of the biennial sports festival. And fans of a memorable time during the games. Ike Ekwere Madu also revealed that the state government had already put in place various activities and sites that will not only showcase the rich culture of the Enugu people, but also the place of Enugu State in the tourism industry, in urging the journalists to join the Enugu state government to showcase the state to the rest of the world. That's Sport News. I'm Joseph Peter.
And with that, we have come to the end of the news hour on Trust TV. Do not forget to follow us across all our media platforms and also watch us live on YouTube for more news programs and documentaries. My name is Idris Dayabature. Thanking you for being with us. Good night.